It started with a collision. The kind that feels accidental until you realize it was inevitable. Like two storm fronts slamming into each other over the vast, unforgiving skyline of New York City. I was Emily Vaughn, the backbone of Apex Innovations, a tech startup clawing its way through the cutthroat world of Silicon Alley. 12 years I'd poured into this place, nights blurring into dawns, fixing code crashes at 3 a.m., negotiating vendor deals that kept us afloat when the venture capital tide threatened to pull us under. That morning, I was juggling 2 steaming lattes, my mind racing through the pitch deck I'd polished until it gleamed, ready to charm Michael Lang from Vanguard Ventures into leading our Series D round. One wrong step around the corner, and there he was, Dylan Reed, the fresh-faced VP of Product, eyes glued to his iPhone, striding like he owned the building because, in a way, he did. His father, Victor Reed, the CEO, had handed him the title on a silver platter. Nepotism wrapped in a Harvard MBA bow. The impact was sharp, jarring. Hot coffee splashed across his crisp white shirt, soaking into the fabric like an accusation. He froze, his face twisting from surprise to something darker, uglier, a rage born from entitlement. The kind that simmers in those who've never had to earn their spot. "What the hell?" he snarled, flicking his arm as if I were some pestilent intruder. I apologized immediately, my voice steady despite the knot forming in my gut. "I'm sorry, Dylan. Let me get you some napkins." But he didn't want apologies. His eyes narrowed, lips curling into a sneer that revealed the boy beneath the executive facade. "Do you even know who my father is?" he hissed, loud enough for the open-plan office to catch every syllable, bouncing off the glass partitions like shrapnel. Heads turned subtly, interns pretending to type, engineers glancing up from their screens. Then came the blow. "You're fired. Get out." Just like that. Spat out with the casual cruelty of someone who'd never faced consequences. I stood there, the remaining coffee cup trembling slightly in my hand, the air thick with the scent of espresso and betrayal. Fired? Over a spill? After all those years of silent sacrifices covering for Dylan's bungled presentations, rewriting his reports to mask his incompetence, staying late while he jetted off to networking parties on the company dime, the humiliation burned deep. A psychological wound reopening old scars from a career built on being the invisible fixer, the one who absorbed the hits so others could shine. But in that moment, something shifted inside me, not explosive anger, but a cold, calculated silence. The kind of quiet that precedes a reckoning. I didn't scream or beg. I turned, napkins still clutched uselessly, and headed for the elevator, my mind already mapping the fallout. Down in the lobby, Michael Lang waited, scrolling through his phone, oblivious to the earthquake upstairs. He was our lifeline, the investor who'd bet on us twice before, the one whose faith could catapult Apex from scrappy underdog to industry player. I sat beside him, my voice low, laced with the raw edge of fresh hurt. "We might need to reschedule." He looked up, brow furrowing. "Why?" I met his gaze, unflinching. "Dylan just fired me." In the hallway, over spilled coffee, Michael's expression hardened. Not with shock, but recognition, the weary acknowledgement of a man who'd seen too many family-run fiascos derail promising ventures. He exhaled slowly, pulling out his phone. "Dylan Reed? Victor's son?" I nodded, the words tasting bitter. He swiped to a video clip from our last all-hands meeting, frozen on Dylan's flustered face mid-stumble through a demo I'd scripted word for word. "This the guy?" Michael asked, his tone dry as desert sand. In the footage, Dylan mangled metrics, skipped slides, turned a polished roadmap into a farce that nearly cost us Vanguard support. I'd cleaned up that mess too, sending apology emails and revised decks while he posted selfies from a rooftop bar. Michael's jaw tightened. I've been fighting my board to stay in this round because of stunts like that. Told them there were real pros holding it together. He pocketed the phone, his eyes meeting mine with a spark of alliance. Let's go upstairs. See how Victor likes his boy torpedoing the deal. We rode the elevator in charged silence, the hum of the cables mirroring the tension coiling in my chest. The betrayal stung not just Dylan's words, but the years of quiet erosion. Watching incompetence rise while my loyalty went unrewarded. It was a psychological trap I'd fallen into, convincing myself that endurance equaled strength. But now, with Michael's presence beside me, that silence transformed into power. The executive floor doors opened to sterile luxury, plush carpets, abstract art screaming innovation, and the boardroom where egos clashed like thunder. Dylan was already inside, pacing with false bravado, rehearsing buzzwords for a pitch he hadn't prepared. Victor sat at the head, arms crossed, exuding the patriarchal confidence of a self-made man who'd forgotten the cost of his blind spots. They both turned as we entered, Dylan's face paling like he'd seen a ghost, or worse. Accountability. Michael didn't waste breath on pleasantries. He set his notebook down with deliberate calm, his voice slicing through the air. Before we dive in, one question. Who approved this termination? Victor blinked, confusion etching his features. What termination? Dylan's throat bobbed. But Michael pressed on, turning to me. Emily, walk us through it. I did. My words measured, emotion simmering beneath the surface like a pot about to boil over. The collision, the spill, the insult invoking his father's name, the public firing that echoed through the office like a slap. No embellishment, just the raw truth. Each detail amplifying the absurdity, the injustice. The room fell into a heavy hush, the kind that presses on your lungs, forcing you to confront the fractures. Victor's eyes shifted to Dylan, disappointment mingling with dawning horror. Did you do this? Dylan stammered. It was. In the moment. Michael cut in, his tone escalating from calm to controlled fury. She onboarded Vanguard in Series B. She salvaged your API overhaul after that vendor ghosted. She authored the playbook you're about to butcher today. He leaned forward, eyes locked on Victor. And you let your son fire her without HR? Without cause? In a hallway? We're talking Series D here, millions on the line, and this is how you manage risk. The drama unfolded in waves, each revelation peeling back layers of deception. Dylan's arrogance cracked, revealing the insecure air beneath, his psychological armor failing under scrutiny. Victor's face drained of color, the price of his paternal indulgence hitting like a freight train, years of overlooking flaws, betting the company's future on blood ties over merit. I stood silent, letting the tension build, my own wounds fueling a quiet resolve, not vengeful outbursts, but strategic precision. The board members shifted uncomfortably, whispers rippling as the implications sank in. Legal chimed in, no paperwork, no protocol followed. HR confirmed, nothing official. Michael's voice rose, a crescendo of indignation. Vanguard was ready to lead this round. But if Apex runs on tantrums and unchecked egos, we're out. Explain that to your shareholders. Victor's hands trembled slightly as he steepled them, the patriarch reduced to a man scrambling for control. He turned to me, voice laced with forced magnanimity. Emily, do you want your job back? We can fix this. But the damage was done, the betrayal had scarred too deep, awakening a determination born from years of suppressed resentment. I reached into my bag, pulling out the consulting contract I drafted months ago, anticipating this very unraveling. No, I said, sliding it across the table. But I'll advise remotely. Retainer tripled. Board-level access. No direct reports to Dylan. Effective immediately. The room erupted in subdued chaos, murmurs. Glances. Victor's pen hovering before he signed. His signature a reluctant surrender. Dylan wilted. His world crumbling under the weight of his impulsivity. The psychological toll evident in his averted eyes. The slump of his shoulders. He mumbled excuses, but they dissolved in the air, meaningless against the tide of consequences. Michael nodded approvingly, his grin sharp. Smart move. Vanguard's in on these terms. As I walked out, the elevator descent felt like shedding chains. The silence now my ally, not my prison. The payback wasn't flashy, it was surgical, rooted in the pain of betrayal. The cost of misplaced trust. In the weeks that followed, the fallout deepened, each day layering new drama. Dylan was placed on indefinite leave, spun as a personal growth sabbatical in a company-wide email that fooled no one. His LinkedIn flooded with vague posts about resilience. But behind the facade, whispers spread, therapy sessions, family interventions. The air grappling with the psychological wreckage of his fall from grace. Victor aged overnight. His emails to me terse, laced with unspoken regret, the price of favoring blood over competence. Watching his empire teeter because of it. I worked from my Brooklyn apartment. Invoices paid promptly. My influence amplified without the daily grind. Michael pulled me into advisory roles for other portfolios, recognizing the value in my quiet strength. But the true cost lingered in the shadows, the emotional scars that didn't fade with success. Nights when I'd replay the hallway scene. The sting of public humiliation fueling a guarded heart. A reluctance to trust again. Revenge had its price, isolation. The hardening of once open vulnerabilities. By summer's end, Apex stabilized under my remote guidance. Series D closed triumphantly. I trained a successor, a sharp young analyst named Sophia, imparting lessons forged in fire. Document everything. Let silence speak. Never let betrayal define you. Then I stepped away fully, co-founding a consultancy with Michael, where we mended broken firms without the drama of personal ties. Dylan resurfaced in a smaller startup out west, lasting mere months before vanishing again. His posts dwindling to echoes of unlearned lessons. Victor retired quietly, the board citing new horizons, but we all knew the empire he'd built cracked under the weight of his choices. As for me, I sip my coffee alone now, in boardrooms where my name is etched in respect, not overlooked. The journey taught me that silence isn't weakness, it's the prelude to a storm. And when betrayal strikes, the real revenge is rising above. Even as the scars remind you of the human cost beneath the victory.